that the safety profile will be okay, and then that will be beneficial. I hope that works out, because it is a tool, particularly for disease resistance, where you can put in a new gene called an RNA interference gene for a particular crop problem.
And look how young he looks here. I'm not sure what year this is. I probably should have figured that one out. Get back to me on that later. I'll post it in the comments later on, or tonight or tomorrow, because this is going to bother me. But this guy, Bill Gates, he's had these plans for a very long time. I think that everything that he's doing now has been in the works for a couple of decades.
It would be a real help. And you're right on the verge of starvation all the time, so every tool that's safe and appropriate, you at least want to look into.
Alan Kuhlman, DuPont does produce genetically modified food, as well as many other things, high-yielding varieties. Are you facing a lot of resistance through a little knowledge is a dangerous thing kind of approach, or are you confident that GM is the future?
Well, I think that if you're going to resolve problems like drought resistant, you're going to have to use genetic modification to get there. I can't think of a product in terms of genetically modified seed that has been more tested and more thoroughly vetted in many of the countries that currently allow it to grow. I think in 2008, we surpassed 2 billion acres globally where biotech crops are grown. And so,
did you hear that? By 2008, they surpassed 2 billion with a B. 2 billion acres of farms where these bioengineered crops are grown. How many acres of farm are there in America? And how much does Bill Gates and his affiliates own? Anybody curious? Anybody want to know?
there is a lot of data out there, there's a lot of information, and there's a lot of benefits to it. But I think Bill's right. Each country, if they set a science-based, transparent regulatory framework, then the industry can work with those countries in order to bridge that gap and the productivity that is needed to fill that food gap.
And now, while the war is going on, take a look at this. One of the largest wildfires in the history of Nebraska. 900,000 acres burned. It says here that ranchers are losing everything at the worst possible time during the Iran war. I don't know about you guys, but this is giving me some of those Argentina vibes, if you know what I mean. And now look at this woman. Kentucky family rejects $26 million offer to convert part of their farm into a data center, despite the offer being about 10 times the going rate for the farmland in the area. She's turning down $26 million. Let's find out why.
If it's my way, I'll stay and hold and feed a nation. 26 million doesn't mean anything.
Some people might find it hard to understand how Delcia Bear can turn away a $26 million offer to buy some of her land until you spend a little time with her walking the dirt road she grew up on and in the house her daddy built.
My grandfather and great-grandfather and a whole bunch of family has all lived here for years, paid taxes on it, fed a nation off of it, even raised wheat through the Depression and kept the bread lines up in the United States of America when people didn't have anything else.
Delcia is one of dozens of landowners approached by an anonymous buyer, one of the major players in artificial intelligence, likely Google or Meta or Amazon, to purchase their land. The market value for land...
An anonymous buyer. That's not shady as hell. That's what she's told. An anonymous buyer wants to buy her family's farm for a data center. Just no regard for the history, for the fact that this is probably one of the few farms in the area that's like growing real food and real cattle for people to eat, that doesn't have the GMOs or isn't cloned meat.
Land in Mason County is about $6,000 an acre. The realtor that came to her door last April offered her and her mother about 10 times that.
They call us old stupid farmers, but we're not. We know whenever our food is disappearing, our lands are disappearing, and we don't have any water. And poison, we know we've had it.
Delcia's mom, Ida Huddleston, is now 82 years old. She says she does not need the money or the hassle. She was born on this land and she plans to die here, and she certainly does not trust the promises made by the AI companies or the people who want them to build here.
So what do you say to the people who are in town that say, hey, this is going to bring jobs, this is going to bring economic prosperity?
I say they're a liar and the truth ain't in them, is what I say. It's a scam.
For Delcia, scam or not, she says she's connected to her home like Scarlett O'Hara was in Gone with the Wind.
As long as she was attached to that land, her spirit never would die. And that's the exact same thing for me right here. As long as I'm on this land, as long as it's feeding me, as long as it's taking care of me, there's nothing that can destroy me if I've got this land.
I agree. You have land like that, and you're actually able to grow your own food and eat healthy like that. Like, you already won the game of life. Like, what the hell is money gonna buy you? And if she sells that land to someone like a Jeff Bezos or a Mark Zuckerberg or a Bill Gates, that land is off the board. That is never going back to the public, ever. And now here we go. It says Bill Gates is patenting seeds, patenting proteins, investing in Monsanto. He wants to outlaw your beef and replace it with a lab burger. Your ribeyes cost more every year. Family farms are disappearing. It is not a coincidence. These are the actions of the control oligarchs. Is that what it's calling them?
Yeah, so we followed the money to the top, to the billionaire class, and it's not a problem. We don't really have a problem with people making money. Love that America allows people to become billionaires. But when America has given these guys so much and they've been allowed to amass such fortunes, then we kind of have a right to know what they're spending that money on. And everything in Control Oligarch showed it's nothing good. It's things like taking over our food supply, as Bill Gates is working on, and trying to pump, pesticides that are very weird and all kinds of stuff into the food system, patented seeds. He's a large investor in Monsanto, and even patented proteins. He wants to patent the proteins and then outlaw your beef so that you have to eat like a Beyond Burger. And you may say, well, I'm not going to eat the fake meat. And of course, that's true. Most of us won't. However, you'll find that your ribeyes at the supermarket are getting more and more expensive, and more family farms are going out of business. That's all by design.
Now take a look at this map. Hold on, you know what? I'll have to readjust this in a minute. But just because I really want you guys to see this. Let me get rid of this. Look at this map. Now, if you can't see, because it's not full screen, this TES in the beginning, guess what that's the tail end of. The land owned by Bill Gates. 270,000 acres of farmland in America. Now, what the hell would a billionaire who has all the money that Bill Gates has, all the control over everything, and he's literally making it his mission to create fake meat and fake butter. What the hell would a guy who's trying to make fake meat and fake butter need with all this farmland? Does this make sense to anybody? I don't think it's good. Look at this guy. There he is right here. The man, the myth, the legend. Oh, let me hit this.
Well, the Gates Foundation has partnered with DFID on a great number of things, and among those are work we do together on livestock, helping animals survive either by having vaccines or better genetics, helping them be more productive. It's making a big difference. I was down in Ethiopia seeing how chickens are out there laying more eggs, getting more nutrition, and even some small savings into the household. So Edinburgh happens to be where...
You hear this guy? He's taking nights out on the town, watching how chickens lay their eggs. Because he wants you to be healthy. He wants the chickens to be healthy. He wants the cows to be healthy. That's why he's making sure they all get vaccinated. I mean, that's not why... it doesn't make sense, though, because isn't the whole reason why he claims that people need to eat less red meat is because of something with, like, the CO2 that the cows emit when they fart? Like, wasn't that actually a real thing? So why would he care so much if cows are healthy and we need less of them and we need less humans and he's trying to make fake meat anyway? Why the hell would he want to vaccinate the cows? Why does it matter how healthy they are? Why does he have such a big interest in this? Chat, you guys have any ideas? I mean, no, I'm serious. Think about this. If they're sitting there saying that people need to eat less red meat because of the CO2 emissions that are going to cause climate change and destroy the whole planet, like, shouldn't he be investing in something else instead of vaccinating cows to make sure that they're healthy? That doesn't really make much sense to me. You know, it just doesn't. It's almost like the time when he was saying how, like, the world is overpopulated, and if we do a good job with healthcare and other things, that we could stabilize those numbers. I just find it very strange. The math ain't mathin'. Like, I want to know where this guy is coming from. I want to know what his plan is. Something is not adding up.
A lot of the world's best work on this is done, and that's why DFID and the Gates Foundation are funding scientists here.
That's why they're... Wait, hold on. That's why they're funding scientists. But now, look at this. The red-headed libertarian. It says Orwellian. Ben Swan. Oh, she reposted Ben Swan. Says, unbelievable. French police are now using thermal imaging drones to locate cattle hidden by farmers who refused mandatory vaccination. Once located, squads and, what is this? Gendarmes and vaccine teams swarm the property to forcibly inject the animals. Here is video from one such raid. They're literally using tech to spy on farms and go after the cows and force vaccinations. Why? Why?
Aller toujours dans le même sens, monsieur. Mais non. De toute façon, je discute plus. C'est pas la peine, vous ne voulez pas entendre. Mais non, mais je comprends. Madame. Non, si vous compreniez, monsieur, vous ne seriez pas devant moi. Parce que vous ne connaissez pas l'histoire de la ferme. Non. Si, monsieur. Non, monsieur, je ne connais pas l'histoire de la ferme. Voilà. Donc, nous allons arrêter le sujet-là. Je connais, c'est la loi. Oui, mais il n'y a pas que la loi dans la vie. Aller toujours dans le même sens, monsieur. Mais non.
Like this, can you imagine? Can you imagine being some, like, poor French farmer, like some woman, and you're just, like, sitting home, like, feeding your pigs or some shit, or tending to your farm, and all of a sudden a SWAT team of French legionnaires come in with a bunch of vaccines and, like, guns with tranquilizer darts or whatever, vaccine darts, and they start coming after your cows, and you're like, what the hell is going on? What are you doing here? Like, what did I do? You didn't vaccinate your cows. They start, like, flying down, jumping down from helicopters with ropes, wearing, like, Bill Gates jackets. Fucking Bill Gates' face on the helicopter like the Joker. Like, this is insane. This is insane. Like, I'm, like, sitting here joking and making light of this. But, like, what the fuck? What the fuck? They have SWAT teams going after cows because the farmers don't want to vaccinate them. Like, was there a pandemic? Were people, how many people got sick and died for them to feel like this was necessary? Like, think about it. Like, you have to tell me, you have to convince me that this woman was, like, chopping up cows and filling up supermarkets, and that, like, it was a whole, like, health crisis on, like, a national security level to justify this shit. And the scariest part is, the only reason that they're not doing it in America is because fucking Bill Gates is buying all the farmland. Like, he's already got them. He's already got them. Like, whatever they're trying to put into these French cows, you can bet your ass it's already in the meat that you're buying at Stop and Shop or whatever grocery store you go to. Like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. And like I said, I'm sorry if this is not, like, my most sexiest episode. I'm sorry if it's not some, like, great conspiracy theory where you feel like you're watching, like, a true crime show or something. Or it's like, you know, but, like, I scroll around, I do my research, I read about this stuff. I'm like, no, this can't be real. There has to be a video. I'm like, there's no way they're doing this. And then I find the video, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm, like, sitting there scanning it, waiting to see, like, the Sora sign or something. I want to see if it's AI. It's like watching a Benjamin Netanyahu speech. You're, like, looking for the sixth finger, and I can't find it. Let's play it again.
Toujours dans le même sens, monsieur. Mais non. De toute façon, je discute plus. C'est pas la peine, vous voulez pas entendre. Mais non, mais je comprends. Madame. Non, si vous compreniez, monsieur, vous ne seriez pas devant moi. Parce que vous connaissez pas l'histoire de la ferme.
Look at her.
Si, monsieur. Je connais pas l'histoire de la ferme. Voilà. Donc, nous allons arrêter le sujet là. Je connais la loi. Oui, oui, mais oui.
He's like, listen, this is going to happen whether you like it or not. You better just take a step back. And now we're about to get into another problem that is really affecting Americans. Because there's another side to this that we haven't really spoken about yet. We're gonna take another trip to the Wayback Machine and watch another speech from one of these World Economic Forum type deals. Oh, actually, this actually was the World Economic Forum. This was Dr. Matthew Lau when he said we can induce meat allergies by using Lone Star ticks to stop the consumption of meat and help the planet. Help the planet. Remember this guy? I think everybody's seen this video at least once, but let's watch it anyway.
So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption of meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, you know, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, you know, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing.
Now, he's sitting here saying that, oh, well, you know, there's actually ways that we can make people, like, not even want to eat the meat. Like, if they eat the meat that they like and they eat all the time, that they don't have the willpower to stop eating on their own, they'll get really, really sick. They'll get really, really sick. Now, who in their right mind would want to do this? Who would sign up for this? It's like, hey guys, I know you guys love eating meat and you don't have the willpower, but you see, I got this tick, and if it bites you, then you're not going to eat meat anymore, because if you do, you're going to get sick. Any volunteers? Me! Right? How many of you guys? Put a 1 in the chat if you're ready to line up. Put a 2 in the chat if you want to tell this guy to go fuck himself. Like, this is insane. This is insane.
Called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you will become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of get the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering. Another, so I'll give.
Hold on. Let's get a look at this piece of shit's face close up. I want everybody to know what this guy looks like. But you see what they can do with human engineering? And this was how many years ago? Hold on, I got a cough. Forgive me. But now, fast forward to 2026, and we have more ticks than ever before. We have more Lyme disease than ever before. We have more alpha-gal syndrome, which is the syndrome that he was referring to that makes people allergic to red meat than ever before. But good news. Well, good news and bad news. The good news is, if you get bit by one of these ticks and you get Lyme disease, well, they have a vaccine for that now, or they will next year. The bad news is, if you get bit by one of the ticks and it gives you alpha-gal, there's no vaccine for that. You're just not going to be able to eat red meat anymore. But I'm sure this is all just a coincidence.
Pardon my ignorance, what is the disease you described, the other one? Rickettsia?
So it's a rickettsia. It is the same organism that causes Rocky-Mountain spotted fever, and that's the most deadly tick-borne disease in the United States. It also was a germ that was being weaponized by the U.S. military at the time, and they tried to stuff it in ticks. I mean, so what is tick weaponization? So in the interviews with Willie, what he said was, I spent over a decade in the biological weapons program, a contractor to Fort Detrick, working on weaponizing fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes, trying to mass produce them, stuffing fleas with the plague, stuffing mosquitoes with deadly Trinidad virus, and then stuffing ticks with either deadly or incapacitating diseases like relapsing fever, Venezuelan equine encephalitis, rabies, leptospirosis, which is another spirochete. So it's just like Dr. Strangelove trying to make new diseases, mixing bacteria and virus in ticks with the intent of, this is the perfect stealth weapon. It's poor man's nuke. You drop these insects on an enemy, it weakens the population, it ties up the medical resources, but doesn't destroy infrastructure like a nuclear bomb would. And in one report from a bean counter in the military, they said, tularemia, which is tick-borne tularemia, also rabbit fever, we can kill 10,000 people at $1.33 a life. So anyways, it was just...
Isn't it crazy how they think about things like this, like that? Like they're looking for the most cost-efficient ways to kill people off. They're saying that they could take people out for $1.33 a life. Well, if that's the case, and the military is the ones doing this research and trying to put all these diseases in ticks, why are all the ticks in America? Why are they flooded in my neighborhood? Why aren't they putting them in countries that we're at war with? Like, you never hear about that. You never hear, like back in the day when we were at war with, like, Iraq, Afghanistan. You never heard, oh, we're going to get them with the ticks, right? Right? I don't think Lockheed Martin and Raytheon would be making a lot of money, or Halliburton. I don't think that they would have gotten paid off all these billions of dollars if America just dropped a bunch of ticks. It's like ridiculous. Like they sit there telling us that they do this research. Like you have one person saying, hey, yo, this cough is killing me. But think about it. You got the Asian guy at the World Economic Forum saying that we could use ticks and we could get people to eat less red meat. Then you got this woman work for the military saying that the military is inventing diseases and putting them in ticks so that they can wipe people out. And then, a couple years later, there's a whole lot of ticks in America. And nobody's asking questions about this. Nobody's pointing this out. Nobody's pattern recognition is going off right now. I got to sit here and be the asshole at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night with 50 people in my chat trying to cover this.
There was more to tick-borne diseases than we realized, and I began suspecting that Willie was right, given this context.
It's hard to digest all of this. It's just so evil. It's hard to believe it could happen in the United States. But I think you're right that it did, and maybe still happening.
This morning, a New Jersey man is the first known person to die after a tick bite triggered a severe meat allergy.
This is really something that, people should be aware of and physicians should be aware of.
The 47-year-old went camping with his family in 2024 and got violently ill after eating a steak. He recovered, but 2 weeks later, he ate a hamburger and again got very sick, then died. This morning, a New Jersey man is the first known.
And this was just back in November. Like now that people are actually dying from this. And now here we go. Bill Gates again. It says Bill Gates is back and stronger than ever. Bill Gates now officially back in full force and is promoting a lab-grown meat company called Upside Foods. In 2017, Gates personally invested alongside Richard Branson, and the company has since raised over $400 million.
I think if we're going to see this large-scale change in dietary habits, it basically needs to generate. You basically need to generate meat, which would be lab-grown meat, for example, when it's not just a plant-based substitute for that, but it's the actual thing, just without the cow or the chicken.
Yeah, you've got three ways to solve that. Make the cow better, but even then you have the ethical issues there. Or people who use plant material where they haven't succeeded in matching the taste or the cost. I know they have new generations coming, so I'm hopeful that'll improve. But as you say, the cell-based approaches, they're not going to have a problem with the taste. Their challenge is very much the cost. But there's some great companies, including one called Prolific. And it looks like we may get there. So sometimes the path is a lot longer, and we underestimated how easy it would be for people like Beyond and Impossible to become mainstream. But they're out there, doing new versions. So I'm still hopeful. I have to say sausage is an area where it seems to be easier for them to create something where I can't tell the difference, or like a chicken sandwich. Ground beef, they are pretty close, particularly because you have salt and sauces on it. The ultimate might be a steak, although there are companies who say that, even that, they'll be able to achieve something. Almost every type of food, milk, cheese, there's interesting work going on. And so if you can get, say, beef or pork to be made this way, amazingly, that would even help with things like deforestation, because there's a whole chain of how those animals get fed. And so agriculture, I keep trying this stuff. There's a yogurt that I think is absolutely fantastic.
I think we're pretty far away on fish. I haven't yet tried a meat substitute for fish that really matches the taste.
Yeah, but for fish, there's this big trend away from ocean-based fishing, the so-called aquaculture. And, that started out as a very environmentally insensitive thing. But now they're really improving what they do with their wastewater.
But again, just please, somebody answer my question. If this guy is so interested, all right, if he's so interested in finding these meat substitutes so that we don't have to eat meat because the cow farts are emitting too much CO2 and that it's going to end the world, then why the hell is he buying up all the farmland? Why is he buying all the farmland? Why is he doing the studies? This guy's financing and doing the studies into these diseases that can be transmitted through the ticks. Is he doing it to give us an option? Is he doing it to sustain our way of life? Is he doing it? Remember what they said? Farming security is national security? If farming security is national security, then Bill Gates is the biggest threat to national security in America. And I do not say that lightly. I do not say that lightly. And look, I'm not even getting into the other stuff. We're not even going to talk about the files. We're not going to talk about the simulations. That's a whole other chapter in this scumbag's life. And I really hope that I'm wrong. I really hope that this guy, in his own sick little way, is just trying to make the world a better place and trying to save us all. But when we find out that he's in the files and, his little fetish for Russians and him and Anthony Fauci's alleged allegations, it's really, really hard to give him the benefit of the doubt. It just is. Here we go. How'd you like to fry that on your pan?
It looks, smells, and tastes like the butter we're all familiar with, but without the farmland, fertilizers, or emissions tied to that typical process. And this butter breakthrough, it's happening right here in Batavia. In the middle of an industrial park in a suburb west of Chicago, something unprecedented is happening.
So you're using this gas right now to cook your food. And we're proposing that we would like to first make your food with that gas.
The company is called Savor, and you better believe it. Their pioneering tech uses carbon and hydrogen to make the stick of butter you see on this plate.
This is pretty novel to be able to make food that looks and tastes and feels exactly like dairy butter, but with...
This is pretty novel to make food that looks and tastes like real food? Yo, how bad for you do you think this stuff really is? Can you imagine the chemicals that they put into this crap? Would you ever want to eat this? Would you ever want to eat this? Would you ever want to feed this to your children? Are you comfortable knowing that this is one of the most richest and powerful men on the planet? That he's not only already in control of hundreds of thousands of acres of our farmland, but that he's everything else he's involved in. And now him and the CEO of Nestle and BlackRock, is it? Now they're trying to buy up land to control water supplies too?
No agriculture whatsoever.
And no long ingredient list the average person can't pronounce.
It's really just our fat, some water, a little bit of lecithin as an emulsifier, and some natural flavor and color.
How? Fats are made up of carbon and hydrogen chains. The goal here? Replicate those chains without animals or plants. And they did it. They tell me, to simplify, they take carbon dioxide from the air and hydrogen from water, heat them up and oxidize them. The final result?
It looks like a wax, like a candle wax at first.
But they're fat molecules, like the ones in beef, cheese, or vegetable oils.
Yeah, it's just like the fat in beef and cheese and vegetable oils. I'm sure. Yo, how is the mainstream media allowed to push this crap out? Oh, CBS owns it. Shocker. Who owns CBS? Larry Ellison. Oh, that's right. It starts to make sense after a while. And here we go. You remember when Bill Gates was sitting there saying that there hasn't been much success with trying to replicate steaks but that there are some companies that are trying to do it, well, guess who's behind those companies that are trying to make the fake steaks with the 3D printers?
מדפסת תעשייתית שפיתחנו, שמיועדת להחליף משחטה. לשאלתך לפני כן, פה אנחנו טוענים את המדפסת הזו בתאי גזע, שאנחנו יודעים למיין לשריר ולשומן, והיא יודעת להדפיס טונות ביום. טונות? טונות של בשר מתורבת ביום. זה רק לשם ההמחשה, אתה תוכל לבחור את הסטייק שלך, והמדפסת תתחיל לשחרר סטייקים בקצב תעשייתי. סירליון, אני לא יודע אם אתה אוהב יותר שומן או פחות שומן. באמצע. view order, slide to print. ופה בעצם המדפסת מתחילה לייצר סטייקים. סטייקים, הייחודיות פה היא שתאי הגזע נשארים חיים אחרי שהם מודפסים. סטייק יהיה מוכן בסביב הדקה. דקה? דקה. השלב פה הוא שווה ערך לשלב שבו הפרה נולדת בעצם. הפרה לוקח 2 עד שהיא נשחטת, היא מזהמת את העולם בתהליך. פה זה תהליך שהוא הרבה יותר קצר.
בלי שטח, בלי מים ובלי
בלי
צואה.
שטח, בלי מים, בלי חתימה פחמנית.
בלי פליטות,
בלי פליטות ובלי כלום.
איפה הסטייק?
הסטייק עכשיו מודפס, ועכשיו אנחנו נעבור
זה המקדונלדס של העתיד.
כן, כן, זה המקדונלדס, זו הקצבייה והמשחטה.
Yo, if this guy really had the interest of Americans at heart, he would be saying that Bill Gates is not allowed to buy all this farmland. He wouldn't be trying to have fake steaks being made with 3D printers in his own country. He would be advocating for more cows. And he would be telling the French Legionnaires, or whoever, I shouldn't even be calling them French Legionnaires, but I thought that was funny, I'm sorry. But there wouldn't be SWAT teams of French people with vaccines raiding farms, going after cows. Now, this is a real American hero. This is somebody whose word I can trust. Let's listen to what Mel Gibson has to say.
Hi, Mel Gibson. I'm in Italy, where the food supply hasn't been messed with. You know, there's no GMO stuff allowed. So the grain in the pasta is great. I can eat it like all day and not get porky. And all the cheeses are wonderful. Bufala mozzarella from the Napoli region. Unpasteurized milk. It's good for the biff. Save the biff. It's your last line of defense against, well, all the environmental things that come to assault us, particularly in the food supply. Okay, I'm digging it over here. Hi, Mel Gibson.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is it me? Am I like crazy for feeling like this was important enough to like stop all the other stuff that I was covering and all the research I was doing, the stuff that I was going to cover? You know, topics that probably would have been hot topics and got me a lot of clicks, got me a lot of views. You know, I make videos like this, and not only are people not interested, but it also gets suppressed. You know, like I'll literally spend hours throughout the day going through these clips and trying to find the ones that are important and then try to like, you know, put them in the right order and like create like an arc where it like connects, where you can like just watch it clip after clip after clip and try to make sure that it like clicks in a way, you know? And it's like I get punished for it. You know, people don't want to watch it. It's not entertaining enough. They'd rather see, you know, what's next with the FBI, you know, Kash Patel and his crash outs and Tyler Robinson and whether or not he did it, and which, I mean, we know he didn't, let's face it. But, you know, there are so many other topics that either the algorithm just will push out or that people will want to watch. But then you cover something that like really affects every single one of us on a day-to-day basis. And it's like they just turn the dial down. You know, I don't get as many views. The retention goes down. People don't really care. Like, this is like one of the worst lives that I've ever done. But, and I kind of knew that going in. But I did it anyway. Because, like, this is the type of stuff that I think is really important. I think people need to know. I think, like, we all need to raise some awareness. You know, like, I was talking to Ryan Mata today. You know, shout out to him. And I messaged him. I'm like, what can we do? Like, what can we do to wake people up? You know, and he said, he's like, at some point, he's like, the information is there. You know, guys like him, guys like me, you know, people like Danks, you know, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, you know, shout out to him. Hope he's doing well. You know, like there's so many people that are trying to raise awareness and trying to wake people up. But at the end of the day, like most people just don't give a fuck. They just don't give a fuck, or they just choose to ignore it. They choose not to believe it. You know, even after COVID, you know, it's same thing with this war. Like we all saw what happened with Iraq. We all saw what happened with Afghanistan. It put us in a freaking recession. It destroyed our economy. We lost 10,000 Americans. We found out the whole thing was bullshit. There was no weapons of mass destruction. But now it's the same story recycled. And you get all these assholes like, no, Trump's doing the right thing. We got to go to war with Iran. What, do you want them to have weapons of mass destruction? And meanwhile, the same people that fed us that line of shit back then with Iraq and Afghanistan, they're the same people feeding us the line of shit with Iran, and they're the same people making the fake steaks and the 3D printers. And it's not just them. I mean, it's us too. You know, these oil companies, they're making a killing right now. Oil, I think I was looking at it today, it was like, what, $130 a barrel? You know? They're making a lot of money off this war. Oil price goes up. They got plenty of oil. You know? The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Tough shit. You know, we got oil. We're just going to have to, like, sell it to other people. We'll make more money. The American taxpayers, the people that are funding the war, people that are shedding their blood in the war, you know, them and their families are going to have to pay more. But the people in control don't care because they're making a killing. Just like Bill Gates. He doesn't care. They don't care if the cows are sick. They don't care if the cows are farting. It's not about climate change. It's about money. It's about power. It's about control. And people need to realize that. And they need to realize that nobody is coming to save us. Nobody is coming to save us. You could sit there and pray all you want. And I really would like to believe that Jesus is going to come back and save us. But I have to live every single day knowing that he's probably not in my lifetime. And that maybe the scripture is being a little misinterpreted. Maybe Jesus is already here. Maybe he's inside of us. And that when you find him inside of yourself, that you unlock something that gives you the strength to make the change. You know, and that might be a controversial take for a lot of people. But I believe that. And that's why I make the content that I make. That's why I, you know, make the content and say the things that I say and do the research that I do and raise the awareness. Because people have to know. And it just really breaks my heart that so many people just don't care. You know, and we have all the signs. And I was saying this the other day in my members only live, you know, that like we have all the signs. Like we see where our country's going. We know where this is headed. And the majority of us don't care and they're complicit. And, you know, I'm dealing with the same thing right now with my father. You know, he just had the stroke after having quadruple bypass. Guy's had like 4 or 5 strokes in the past year, at least. And he just had quadruple bypass surgery in September. He was supposed to get a surgery in his neck in November. He blew it off. They told him he couldn't smoke anymore. He was going to have a massive stroke. He kept smoking. They told him he had to eat clean. He kept eating shit. And now he's laying in a hospital bed, and I don't even know if he's going to make it. I hope he does. You know, in the past week, he's already made so much more progress than, you know, I was told to expect. You know, day one, the first day I found out he had the stroke, I was fine. They were telling me that he might not ever walk again. And then I'm hearing today that he's with the nurses, he's walking, he's trying to get back out there. But the problem is he's not trying to get back out there to do the physical therapy and to get the surgery in his neck. He's trying to get back out there because he wants to go outside and have a fucking cigarette and go home and have another rum and coke. And, you know, I said it the other day. It's like the same thing with America. Like people are just doing what they want to do. They're listening to what they want to listen to. They're hearing what they want to hear. And, you know, I can't change people's minds, just like I can't change my dad's mind. but it doesn't mean that I'm going to give up. It doesn't mean that I'm going to shut up. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop raising the awareness. You know, I'm going to keep making these videos and trying to wake people up, even if it costs me views. You know, just like I'm going to keep breaking my dad's balls and try to get him to quit smoking. You know, because what other choice do I have? You know what? This always makes me laugh, though. Even though this actually might be, you know, I said this, if you guys watched that other live, the pop-up live I did on Sunday, the last time I covered Bill Gates. And I said, this right here very well may have been the moment that Bill Gates decided he was going to destroy the world.
Watch what happens when a team of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face. Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was not injured. The hit squad piled on with...
Yo, can you believe that they were... I still can't get over the fact that they refer to that guy and those people as the hit squad. Like, he got hit in the face with a pie. He got hit in the face with a pie. Let's be real. The hit squad. You know what I mean? Like, you hear the mainstream media referring to this as a hit squad. And it kind of makes me wonder when the mainstream media refers to other people as things.
Of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face.
I could watch this shit all day, though. Fuck that guy. And fuck this guy, too. You guys know who this is? Klaus Schwab, one of the most richest and powerful men.
Who will really command the fourth industrial revolution and its technology like artificial intelligence?
What's your sense of who's best placed at this time to lead the world into the fourth industrial revolution? Because you pretty much created this term. We're seeing the kind of technological strides that China has made with Huawei, with the 5G technology. Do you believe that this could potentially be China's time once again?
We should make here again let's say a differentiation. On the one hand, we have state capitalism. On the other hand, we have shareholder or private capitalism. So it's a clash between two systems. I believe that state capitalism in the short term.
Yo, tell me that this guy does not sound like the bad guy in a James Bond movie. I mean, look at him. Look at him. I believe that we can do it. Like, yo. Tell me this guy isn't out to get us, please.
The short term provides certain advantages because you can mobilize in a concentrated way a lot of resources to reach a specific objective. But I believe that the future is not state capitalism or shareholder capitalism. The future is what I call stakeholder capitalism.
He believes the future is stakeholder capitalism. You heard it from the man himself. Stakeholder capitalism. Where Bill Gates... Stakeholder capitalism. Where Bill Gates is controlling all the farms, the military's putting out all the ticks, and Benihana's is cooking all the steaks.
Which is combined with the social responsibility.
Oh, you catch that last part? Stakeholder capitalism, where there's a social responsibility.
Which is combined with the social responsibility.
Now, I wonder if that social responsibility has to do with anything with social credit scores for us. Now, when we started this video, we started with Robert Kennedy Jr. And we're going to end this with RFK Jr. Although we're not going to end it because I got a little more energy than I thought I would. And I got a Snickers bar here and a little bit of Red Bull left. So we're going to play some other stuff. But this is the most important part of the video. I want you guys to really listen to what this guy has to say. And you might have to try a little bit because his voice is like kind of difficult to understand and difficult to listen to. But please, please try really hard. Please listen to what he's saying. No, what did I do? There we go.
Is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. Digital currency.
Why would Bill Gates want to look at every inch of the planet 24 hours a day? And how is that being allowed to happen? How is anybody being allowed to have that much power? To be allowed to put things in the sky that look at us and record and watch everything we do 24 hours a day. The guy's literally trying to play God.
That will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist. I'm going to tell you 3 rules you all need to know and memorize. Number 1, every power that government takes from us, it will never relinquish voluntarily. Number 2, every power they take from us, they will ultimately abuse to the maximum extent possible. Number 3, nobody in history of the planet has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control. Every capitulation is a signal to the oppressors to impose new forms of torment or torture or compliance or obedience. Every time you comply, you get weaker. Bullies cannot be appeased. It just encourages them to new forms of torture and torment. Every time you say yes, you're getting pushed back to a weaker position. That's why we need to resist today.
I mean, he definitely got that part right. We definitely need to resist. But how? Chat, how do you guys think we could resist all this? We just can't comply. And we have to get smart. They created all these rules and laws and this entire way of life where we're stuck on this mouse wheel, working regular jobs, eating the goy slop, eating the bullshit, poisoning ourselves with fast food, stressing ourselves out, getting unhealthy, taking all these pharmaceutical drugs. Like, when we say we can't comply and we can't conform, it's not like waiting for something to come down the line and, like, hold our ground when the time is right. It's no, we have to stop immediately. You have to stop giving in. These are all vices. If you have a backyard, whether you live at your parents' house, you own your house, whatever it is, if you own property, you should be trying to grow your own food. That's first and foremost. You should be trying to grow your own food. Eat healthy. Read the labels. Pay attention. Get Ian Carroll's buyer app and start scanning that freaking thing in the grocery store and pay attention to who owns the food. Find out where it's coming from. If Bill Gates has 270,000 acres and we watch these videos and we see all this stuff, you should know when you go into a grocery store exactly what food is coming from his farms, and you should stay the hell away from it. It's the only way. Like these changes that we can make, this resistance, like those are the changes. You do it with your dollar. Stop paying with your credit card when you don't need to. If you could buy something with cash, pay cash. Shop local, even if you got to pay a little more money. It's worth it. It's worth it. Keep the money in your community. Pay cash. Keep it in the community. Buy meat from a farm. Grow your own vegetables. You know, it might sound so small, and if it's one person, you might think, like, what difference does it make? But you get enough people to do it, and eventually it makes a really big difference.